Hello and a very warm welcome to yet another episode of Aastha Unplugged, the place, the platform where we have some real conversations, real talk. As you all know, every time we have somebody from the industry, somebody who's been working there on the ground, has gone through it, navigated different situations, and we try to bring in or rather delve deeper into certain aspects of the corporate world. And each one of you listening out there, watching this, would be able to resonate with this at a different level, whatever aspect of it, so feel free to take that up for yourself, share your experiences, perspectives, because today we have with us Captain Rahul. He's a very, very seasoned HR professional. But what is really exciting is that he's an army veteran. I'm really curious to dive into it from his experience perspective, but at the same time, how has his army background helped him create whatever he's done, in the industry? We'll get there as well, and you'll see glimpses of that. Yes. So let's get down to this. And I'm sure he's going to bring in a very different perspective to something we speak so much about, organizational culture, which is very closely linked to the value management, obviously. And values, when we say it's the vision, the mission, the core values that every organization has for themselves. But what is really happening there? What is the significance of those? Is all that we are going to dive into. And how does organizational culture impact or plays a role in employee engagement, employee performance, is what we are going to get into. Yes. So let me welcome Captain Rahul Sharma. There's a lot that I've spoken, but I'm really excited about this episode. A very warm welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Aastha. And it's great to be here on Getting Unplugged, on your Aastha Unplugged.
Yes.
And thanks a lot for a very, very long sort of introduction and for promoting Indian Army as well. So I'm glad for that, because that's my first love. And that's, once a soldier, always a soldier is the value that I have. So you'll have to pardon me, because and you have already mentioned this thing in your introduction. It's going to be a mixture of, Army experience, the corporate experience, and my own personal experience in the HR field, and also of working with MNCs and Indian conglomerates and startups as well. So I'll try and bring it out during today's conversation. So I leave it to you the way you want to structure it, the way you want to ask. So
yes,
you can shoot, and I'll respond with my friendly fire.
Super. Great. So I want to begin by, asking the very fundamental question that when we talk about the vision, the mission, the core values, what is the significance? Every organization has one, or at least they strive to have a statement there. What is really the significance of having these three for any organization?
Great. First of all, again, I think it's very, very, very interesting topic that you have chosen, because this is something so fundamental and yet so profoundly impactful as organization culture, especially from a lens of a different business stages, like from nimble startups to robust companies, and also dwelling upon my past experience of, like I mentioned about my own experience of, working with different companies, both in the Indian, owner-driven companies and MNCs, etc. So this is something, the vision, the mission, the goals, the culture, and the value management, as you have mentioned, that this is I think the foundation of any company. Irrespective of the size of the company, these are the building blocks. I would say that these are the building blocks. When you are making a building, you start with a vision. This is how my building will look like, and this is how my my people who are going to be part of this journey of in this corporate journey. These are the kind of people that I'll be hiring, and these are the people who are going to be driving this company forward. So when we say these things, obviously the foundation becomes very, very important, because I always say this thing to my team and to others also, that unless the foundation is strong, a small wind, a small, gust of wind can throw off the company. And we have seen this thing in the last few years, I would say, and currently also we are seeing this thing. A lot of discussions are happening around Byju's and Paytm and other companies, which are which are good companies, which are good companies, and still I believe even Jet,
Sure.
even before that, Kingfisher, and before that, ITC, my own first company that I worked in after leaving army, also faced some issues, some problem in 80s and 90s and early 2000s. But all these companies, the companies which survived, they survived because the foundation was strong, and companies which could not survive, they could not survive because the foundation was weak. And when I say values are not just innovation. Values are not just the ability to do business and how do we do business. Because if I have to give an analogy of the value system and the vision, so basically I can tell you that this is like a car. Maybe if I can use a example of a car, that vision is something that you put it on GPS, that this is where we want to reach, and you enter all those things, that this is our goal, this is where we want to be. And mission is something which is like a car itself. It's a vehicle that moves the organization towards the destination set in the GPS.
Sure.
The mission outlines the company's purpose also, and the core strategies that it makes with the help of their the leadership team and the employees contribution. So that all becomes mission. It encompasses the daily activities, the services or the products that the company is offering. Essentially, it is what drives the company forward on the road to the vision. And values act as a steering wheel. So values are like the steering wheel of the car, which are guiding and directing the path the car takes, to ensure that every turn and every direction and every decision made within the car aligns with the right direction and the ethical guidelines. The values steer all actions and decisions which are made by the top leadership team or the HODs, because the value system and the culture, everything drives top down. It doesn't go bottoms up type, because everything has to be owned and lived by the leadership team. If it's a founder, if it's a management team, it's a ManCon, as we call the management committee, they have to live this thing on a daily basis. And that's only, will ensure that you stay on the correct path as defined by the company's ethical standards and cultural principle. So when I was telling you about, the values and the other thing, what strikes out is that, ethical, honesty, integrity, these are the values which I feel are very, very crucial. Because you may have umpteen numbers of values in your value statement or mission statement, etc. But unless you are ethically correct, so you can't be, there are three things which you can't do while making values. You can't be, breaking the law. You can't be dishonest to the customers, and you can't be dishonest to the shareholders, and you can't be dishonest to the employees that are working for you. So if you have these three things, taken care of, that you have to walk on the correct ethical path, lawful path, where you are not breaking any law, be it labor law, be it financial law, be it FARA laws, be it anything to do with money, anything to do with HR policies, employees, and you're being honest to your employees, to your shareholders, and to your investors, because startups, etc. They bank a lot on investment, etc. They are looking for investments. So these are the crucial things. Like I mentioned, these are the fundamentals or the foundation of the company. So the foundation is strong, you will attract good employees, you will attract good shareholders, you will attract good investment as well.
Interesting. So you mentioned about the values being the steering wheel and they being the foundation, the whole vision, mission, they're like the building blocks. And you also spoke about how important it is for them to be integrated in the day-to-day operations. It's not about creating something and putting it aside, but practicing it every single day. So what I want to understand is, what is your experience where most of the organizations, if you go to their websites, there are these statements out there, there are the values there. How far, I mean, talking about the corporate world in a broader sense, how far are companies really implementing them on a day-to-day basis, which means if you go there, which is essentially what culture is, where you will see that, yes, that integrity shows in the day-to-day operations, right? Every employee, top to bottom, is living that value of maybe ethics or that value of making it world-class, if that's the value, right? How far are people doing that? And maybe you want to share some examples or some case studies of organizations that are doing it beautifully. So I'd like to hear something on that.
Sure. Again, taking my own example, after leaving army, because army is always full of, ethos and, values.
Yeah.
The first thing in the army, which we are taught, or we are shown also, is that, beautiful sort of a, tradition written in every academy, wherever you go, be it IMA, NDA, OTA,
Yeah.
that the comfort and well-being of, and the countries come first, then the comfort and well-being of the people that you command comes second, and your own welfare and your own, comfort comes last each and every time. So you have to think about country first, then think about your people, then think about yourself. Similarly, I always say this thing in the corporate structure also, that whenever you're working in any company, I'll come to your question, but I thought that this is very important to, for me to mention this thing, that I always make a comparison with the army ethos, with the corporate ethos. And I always say that company, wherever you're working, it always comes first. Unless the company is there, you will not get your salary. Unless the company is there, you will not get your comforts. So you have to take care of the company, first of all, every employee, be that from doorman to chairman, and then comes the people that you are, as a leader, if you're responsible for HR, then the people that you have in the company, if you're HOD of a particular department, and that department employees, their comfort and their welfare and their output, because in the corporate level, we always look at productivity as to how much a person is contributing to the bottom line. So that how he is able to do. So over there, the employee engagement part comes in. So you have to have, the systems and mechanism and interventions where all these things come together and guide the employees towards the vision, goals, mission. And all these things happen when the value system is good. When you have transparency, when you have honesty, when you have integrity, when you have the, innovation, etc., which are sort of plugged in. So the company comes first, the employees come second, and your own comfort and your own welfare comes last. But most of the time we are always worried about our own sort of increment and promotions, etc., and we forget about the people that we command. So that's somewhere the disconnect is, and that's why the regular workshops, regular training sessions, and regular communication should happen from top on these lines, and not just talk. They should be seen walking the talk as well. So once these things happen, then the the company is supposed to be on the right path when it comes to the productivity and the reputation of the company, because reputation plays a very important role in today's social media. Any small mistake, anything being done in a wrong manner in a company can be very easily sort of blown out of proportion, or maybe whistleblowed in such a manner that the reputation of a company, whether it's correct or not, the social media is such that it can bring the reputation down of any company. So coming back to my own experience and examples that you asked for, after army I joined ITC, to be precise, ITC hotels, where I was in different 5-star hotels of the ITC group, and they have this logo of theirs, ITC and sustaining values. So that logo itself talks about values. And second company where I've not worked, but I have heard and seen a lot is the Tatas, and Tatas have this, the word of mouth, as I mentioned, that, people talk and people put it on social media, people do whatever to spread the word, be it negative, be it positive. So the positive thing is that Tata Group is known for its ethos or its value of leadership with trust. Anything to do with Tata, you associate trust with that. You associate that they will not do anything hanky-panky. They will not do anything. They may take a loss, but they will not do anything bad to the customer or to the consumer or to the shareholder or to the investors, etc. So that's the kind of trust that you have on the values of Tata's. Similarly, Infosys also, when they started off, they had set a set of values on which they made the company, made sure that the foundation was very strong. And today you see the company is a very professionally run company, and the founders may have sort of drifted away, or they have parted ways. But the new team which has come, they are taking the company forward just because of the value system, just because the foundation was very strong. Talking about the newcomers, I can talk about companies like I don't know whether it's a correct or a right thing, but Swiggy and Zomato, they are into customer centric business, and they have values centered around these kind of customer centric. So they are doing pretty good, and any company which is into a consumer or a maybe customer facing thing has to have this kind of a image that people talk about it and not just go to the website and see as to what values they have, but listen to other people's success stories and listen to other people, because I consider myself to be the brand ambassador of Army first and then the ITC. So these are the two places where I served the most, and I sort of imbibed the best of the the foundation, because you may take a longer route to reach your goal, but you're taking the right route, right sort of path that you're taking. Some people look at shortcuts that we want to reach our maybe numbers very fast, so they may bypass some certain values and certain things, and that's where the culture gets damaged. That's where the entire I talked about car, so that every car has got one steering wheel. You can't have a car and multiple people sitting in that and have everybody having a steering wheel in their hand. So you can imagine as to where the car will go. So I always feel that if you keep your company's interest and company's goals and company's mission in front of you and work accordingly to that. I mean, even your KRAs, etc., or your we introduced this part of value system in the PMS as well, performance appraisal system. Every year we used to grade people, we used to rate people on the adherence to the values of the company. So it becomes a part and parcel of the life of a corporate life, or the life cycle of an employee. That is one part. The second part is that I talked about leadership, walking the talk. One or two examples which come to my mind, where this thing got imbibed in a very strong manner in me was my initial years with ITC. There was a very small incident of a wrong billing, or maybe wrong. I will not call it wrong billing, but willfully fake bills were generated for about few hundred rupees, and that thing was sort of caught by the HR and the finance, and as per the reporting system, this thing went to the right people in the right places. And we had people coming from ITC headquarters in Kolkata. We had people coming from ITC hotel headquarters in Delhi NCR to a place, in Jaipur, Agra, and spending so much of money in thousands. And I'm talking about early 2000s, late 90s. So spending thousands of rupees in tickets, air tickets, travel, etc., hotel booking, and looking at that incident of embezzlement of few hundred rupees of amount of and it was done by the manager. So all the more reason that a sort of court of inquiry was instituted, and after 3-4 hearings, after giving adequate chance to the other person also to put across his views, his defense, it was decided to terminate the employment of that person, just because it was not a question of few hundred rupees. It was not a question of a fake bill. It was a question of deviating from the values. If you're not honest, if you're not ethical, then you cannot lead your men. Then you cannot, cannot be a good leader. You cannot be a good manager. So a decision was taken to sort of, terminate the employment of this person, and it was required. In hindsight, I feel it was required because deterrence is also required in a structure where value systems are supposed to be pushed. You have to reward people for adhering to value system, and you have to punish people who are not doing this thing. I mean, imagine a maybe scenario. And we've all seen that, not just, me, maybe all the people who are listening to you or maybe watching you over this podcast, they would know that, salespeople are the like the elite force of a company. Like they are the ones who are getting the revenues for the company, so that, other people in the back of the house or maybe the support functions get their salaries, etc. Just because we feel that, sales is doing a good job and they are getting money for the company. So at times we feel that, salespeople break some rules and take a shortcut somewhere to reach their target. And how they reach the target could be, maybe giving a false story, maybe giving a false promise to the customer or to the consumer, and they do this thing. And when they come back and we see that, they've been rewarded because they've done good sales, but they have obviously broken some rules. They've obviously broken some value system or values of the company. So this is something where I have a very strong view that we should always take if you want to be a good company with good reputation and good sort of foundation, you should always take a pragmatic view and reward people appropriately and punish people appropriately publicly. So it becomes that, even if a person is doing very well and he's the one who is getting money for us, if he's done something wrong, company will take action against him also or her also.
That sets an example. Sure.
Yeah, that sets an example because other people will not do it otherwise.
Right.
Otherwise, the entire thing, goes through a process of saturation, and the value system goes for a six.
Yeah.
Then you can't say that, because if you're partnering a group of people or maybe a person, and you cannot treat the other person in a right manner or maybe a just manner by punishing him for something which he has done or maybe which may not be related to revenue. So you have to have a balance between this revenue and support and non-revenue for departments, and then only the trust of the employees will come, and then only the trust of customers, consumers, and shareholders and investors will come in the company. That's my view, and I always live by this sort of view that you cannot play partially.
Three things that you've brought out here. One, you're saying when it comes to the role of leadership, at different levels, the role of leadership in aligning the vision, mission, the core values to the day-to-day operation. So one you said is walk the talk. So you demonstrate that, you showcase that, you don't compromise on that. And number two, basis that you reward or punish may be a harsher word, but whatever needs to be done in action, making decisions, taking actions which are in sync with the values. And the third you spoke about is to have it as part of appraisals, which means that you mentioned that where how much are people aligned and how much are they really operating in that in alignment with those values, and basis that you appraise them. Is there anything else that comes to your mind, which is, I would say, practical, just like you said, these, what could leadership do on the ground? I'm talking about one, who do they need to be? You just spoke about, this is who they need to be. They need to live those values every single day. Now, when they show up in this way, what are some of the things that they can really do to kind of not lose track of those values or the vision, mission? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't have a list in front of me, but I'll just try and say things impromptu.
Sure.
So when you want to instill and make sure that every employee in the company not just reads these values but live by these values.
Yeah.
So there are a few things which, and again, as I mentioned previously also, and you also mentioned, it has to be top driven. It has to be led by the leadership team. So I'll maybe try and give you 2-3 examples, or maybe let's see whether it makes sense or not. So one is that the leadership example, very, very important, because unless the leaders visibly embody the company's values in every action and decision, this thing will not work. So this lead by example, walk the talk approach, good on paper, but it has to be seen on ground as well. Okay, and then in their action, because as I mentioned, that everybody, if we feel that we are working in a cabin and nobody is watching us, people do watch. People do see as to what actions you are taking. It could be in form of mail, it could be in the form of some reward or recognition schemes, which I mentioned, that rewarding wrong people and punishing right people, that is seen by the people. So you have to walk the talk, you have to lead by example, and you have to set leadership behavior, which sort of and it comes from having workshops, having town halls, having maybe fishbowl meeting or maybe whatever sort of meeting. Communication has to be there, and two-way communication, so that you ask the employees also as to what they're thinking, what their observations are, and then communicate that this is the way it has to be done. So when you have this kind of a communication happening, that you're telling something and you're getting a response also, and you're telling the employees also to share their feedback and responses, then that is the clear communication which is happening. And clearly and regularly communicating the value system through multiple channels, just as I mentioned, through
as
town
a
halls.
Reinforcement, right?
Yes, as a reinforcement. We do induction of new employees, but you should do reinduction of the old employees also. Because somebody who spent about 3-4 years in the company, or maybe more than that, has forgotten as to what he learned in the orientation or the onboarding process or the induction class. So you should have reorientations, reinduction, and as I mentioned, town halls, meetings, newsletters, company intranet. You have to make sure and ensure that company's values are clearly understood and are visible throughout the organization. I mean, like I'm give you the example of ITC. We used to have these small postcards, sort of, and which used to have, all these values and vision and mission written, and every employee was supposed to be carrying it. But that is not enough. You have to demonstrate it on the ground. So right from doorman to the chairman, because if the guest is coming to a five-star hotel, he is greeted by the doorman first, not the chairman. So the doorman also has to live by those values. Unless he shows and demonstrates those values to the guest will not have the confidence that this is a good hotel or good company that I am, patronizing. So if he enters through that, so each and every employee, right from doorman to valet to front desk to housekeeping to everything, to even people in the back office, and then he goes to his room and then he has an experience. Good experience leads to good comments. Bad experience leads to guest comments, etc. Bad comments, etc. And then we take action on those guest comments also. Something to do with values, we have sessions. Something to do with human mistake, we take sort of training initiative. But this has to be done. And third thing is which it has to be integrated, totally integrated into HR processes, right from recruitment stage. When you're screening candidates, then you should see whether they are aligning to the company values or not. Because you have a tendency of when I'm talking about companies, basically everybody has a tendency to pick star performers. Okay, this person has demonstrated, his CV is very impressive, his LinkedIn profile is very impressive, let me hire this person. So you bypass few of the attributes and you sort of hire him on the basis of certain revenues which he has generated, certain tangible benefits that he has given to his previous company, and he is hired. And you don't align his values to the company values, and there's a mismatch, and you're hired a wrong person for the right job or a right person for the wrong job. This misalignment happens, and then you suffer. You suffer in the sense company suffers because you hired a performer, and the performer has turned out to be a weak performer or a non-performer in your company. So you have to see whether that person was doing things ethically. If he was doing things ethically and your company is not doing things ethically, he will not be able to perform to the best of his ability. Because he's used to doing things in a certain manner because of the value system. So and your value systems are not there.
Yeah, so you're talking about the alignment of the personal values with the organization's values.
Yes.
At the time of hiring,
that's very important.
And would you agree that a lot of people, I mean, I've come across so many leaders who are not aware of their core values, their personal core values. They have no idea what they are, and they go on compromising on their non-negotiable core values. They don't even bother to check whether the organization I'm getting into is, the values that it carries are in alignment with my values, because they have no idea.
Absolutely. And they set a very bad example. And they are the kind of people who I call them, like termites. You have your furniture, you have your this thing. So Deemak ki tarah, they sort of, make sure that the company foundation gets weakened. So you may have done a right hiring, you may have hired a good leader, you may have hired a good manager, but these same managers, when they are not living the value system, when they are not, owning the values of the core values of the company, then they start behaving like in the employee engagement, thing. We again analogy. The engine is the engaged employees. The bogies are the, people who are following the leader and they are somewhat engaged. And then you have a brake. These brake people who apply brake every time, they are the non-performers or non-engaged people. So they are like performers also. The engine also is 1 or 2 engines maximum. Maximum people are followers. So you have to make sure that you have your 10 to 15 or 20% of the people of the employee workforce as engines of the company. They will drive the company, and then you have many people following that thing as bogies. And whenever you see somebody applying brake, or maybe somebody making sure that some hindrance is coming, or the speed is not catching up because some people are applying brake, and that journey of this company, identify them through various means, through appraisals, through whatever you have, 360-degree peer review and feedback coming from customers and consumers and seniors and juniors, and then take action on them. Remove the people who are causing hindrances, reward the people who are driving the company, and let people follow. So you'll have more number of engaged manpower, engaged workforce with you, rather than disengaged or non-engaged people.
Yeah.
So that is
Sure.
something, when you say about, these core values, so they become very, very important piece in this entire performance network, performance sort of, chart.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you were talking about the Tatas, and it's actually a very powerful case study when it comes to the kind of positioning it has in the minds of people, where uh,
Absolutely.
a Tata employee, okay, this is what it is. Tata product, this is what it is. A Tata
Absolutely.
service, this is how it is. So across people are like, this is bound to be ethical. This is bound to be good. And that's very strongly because of the legacy that's there, that's created from the top, right? Would you
Absolutely.
would you want to point out certain other things? What you've mentioned is absolutely quite vast, expansive, but anything else which you want to pick up from Tata's, what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, which has helped it seep through the system so powerfully that this is the kind of image, the brand image and the positioning that everybody holds? Is there anything that comes to your mind which we can discern, we can break it up for the listeners, and it just helps the leaders? And you, I mean, what could be also possible is how it's a huge organization, multiple levels. So when it is, um, how do you even keep that? While you've given the systems, you say, okay, reward, punish, performance, but what are some of the things which has helped it just stay and solidify at every level, multiple levels at every level? How has it just been there?
See, yeah, I'll try and answer, because I told you that I have not personally worked at Tata's.
Yeah,
So, but again,
absolutely.
like you, I've also heard, and this is a general perception which is made up through uh, media, social media, and normal media, etc., where people talk good things about Tata's.
Sure.
Maybe because of Jamshedji Tata, maybe because of his legacy that he has left behind, maybe because of Ratan Tata.
Yes.
People tend to ignore the negative points, and people focus on, and
Mm.
that's something to do with the PR also, as to what PR the company has. How do they
Mm.
position themselves in the market? How do they sell themselves in the market
Sure.
through the employees and through the customers' mouth? Because the
Mm.
word of mouth plays a very important role. Like you are
Absolutely.
talking good things about Tata, I am talking good things about Tata.
Yeah.
You have not worked with Tatas, I have not worked with Tatas.
True.
So,
Very
but still
true.
we are talking about that. So that's the kind of image that they have in the market. They have image in the
Mm.
mind of the people, that
Yeah.
they make salt and they make aeroplane. I mean, they operate aeroplanes and they operate hotels. They are into every field. Chemicals, salt, and uh, they have a legacy. But they have not grown at the pace that they could have grown. If they were purely businessmen.
Sure.
So that is where I mentioned that you may take a longer path. This is
Mm.
my reading of them. This is my understanding of them, that they have taken a longer path, staying on the core values of the system, core values of the company.
Mm.
So they have stick to that,
Yeah.
and for that they may have to let go of certain business opportunities. They may have to let go of certain profitable propositions, etc. But that's their call. That's the call
Right.
they have taken on the basis of their core values. That will not enter this market, or
Mm.
will not do this kind of a business, because this sort of compromises our value system. So that
Mm.
is something because integrity, honesty, and I told you about the uh,
Ethics.
other
Yeah.
attributes which are like innovation, accountability. Accountability is also if you are accountable to your employees, to your shareholders, to your investors, and to future employees and future maybe customers as well. So
Mm.
people who are not associated with you, if they are also buying your value system, if they are also impressed by your value system, you have done your job. So because basically you have made a brand of yours. Tata is a brand now. Tata is a brand which is associated with trust. That's why the bottom line of their logo is leadership with trust. So that's the kind of image that I have of them, that they are doing things in a manner.
Yeah.
And we saw in during COVID also, we saw it through when the attack on this Tata hotels, Taj hotels took place in Mumbai. We saw it during that time. The adversity, when the adversity is there and you bring out your core values and highlight them, they're not looking at profitability.
Mm.
The way they went out of the way to support their staff during the 9/11 thing when it happened in Mumbai, it's something to be imbibed by everybody. That staff who sort of were injured, or maybe they were people who sort of fought the terrorists, they were rewarded. They were felicitated, and people who were requiring some kind of a hospitalization or some treatment, they were given complete company support. Company didn't think about money. Company didn't think about the maybe he's not going to be on the job for maybe next 1 year because of the injuries that he has sustained. But they supported him. They supported them with full heart and with maybe full public view also. So that could be a good case study that the kind of things that they do. And similarly during COVID also we saw how many people and how many hotel chains and Tata, like Taj hotels, or the they did so many out of the box thinking that time, which took care of the customer and took care of the customer. Beside customer, they took care of the employees as well and the shareholders. So that's something which is not related to money, which is not related to profitability, but that's related to image of the company. That's we are Tatas, so we'll do things in our way. So that is something which is something which I feel that they have done it beautifully, and they have done remarkably well to earn the respect of the common person. That's why we as then we talk about Tata Namak, or we talk about Vistara, or maybe Air India, we talk good things about India. I mean, if it was a government airline, we would have sort of put it up on social media and mastered it. But since now it has been taken over, and we're saying no, it will take some time. Air India will also improve, and Vistara will also improve. So let's give some time, and because that's the image of Tata's, we know that this value system will take care of all such minor issues in the long run.
Sure. So two things that I'm getting. One, you said it's a choice. To, like you said, they went slow, maybe they let go of certain business opportunities. So I think any business has this choice to decide on the pace, to see how much weightage they want to give to the values, how much, all of that. That's always a choice. And then, of course, it has its impact, whatever choice you make. And the second thing, what you spoke about through the journey of Tata is that it's a journey, bringing the value system and then seeping it in through the entire organization is a journey. It requires a lot of patience, perseverance, and then, like you were talking about, it just starts to show. And maybe in the face of adversity is when it's the true test of standing up for those values, I think. Yeah. So
That's right.
Great. So taking this further, the business environment is changing very, very fast, How do you think an organization needs to adapt their value system, the vision, mission, values with the changing environment?
Well, I think the answer to the question lies in your question itself. Adaptability is the answer. Adaptability is essential. It's something non-negotiable. So you have to adopt, and you cannot say that when you're looking at future, you cannot say that whatever we've done in the past will take us in the future as well, because it's a dynamic world that we're living in. Every day things are changing. COVID has taught us so many things. Nobody could imagine maybe an IT company people working from home for such a long duration. Even now, I mean, my own previous company, Oracle, they are still following the complete work from home sort of scenario. Very, very few people come to the office, and very, very few people, like sales people, are supposed to be there in that. But HR people and finance people, everybody's working from home, even after so many months post-COVID. So adaptability is very essential. Companies should conduct, as I mentioned, regular reviews with their employees, with their stakeholders, ensure that the vision, mission, and values remains relevant. And whenever they are not relevant, again go back to the drawing board. Again go back to that Chintan Baithak sort of a thing, and do some kind of brainstorming and say, okay, these values have got us till here. What now? How do we sort of navigate next 5 years, next 10 years, etc. So all these things have to be revisited. So adaptability and not having a inflexible attitude is very, very important. We cannot say that these are the value system, these are the mission, these are the goals which we set in maybe 1940s or 50s or maybe 2000. They will sustain us. No, you have to revisit them and rethink and involve everybody, right from leadership team to the rock bottom team member. And as industries evolve, like with digital transformation, adjustment might be necessary to stay relevant and competitive. Now with AI coming in, so the future is bright, but the future is complex as well. So in this kind of a complex situation, in this sort of a complex scenario, having a good foundation will always help. So this will not change. But adaptability regarding their vision, regarding their mission, regarding their value management, they will always work and it will always help you.
Sure. Got it.
It will help you to stay relevant within your domain and within your, like, we mentioned about Tata. So, we want other people to talk about our company maybe 10 years down the line as, a company which survived this COVID, survived the Lehman Brothers, survived, the downturns, and still did very well.
Yeah.
They did well because of all this, foundation work that they did.
Yeah.
Having a good vision, having a good mission statement and values, basically.
Yeah. So
it doesn't look fancy on the paper. People look at the bottom line. People look at the P&L statement. People look at the profitability of a company. But I'm not saying, maybe I may be biased because I'm coming from a non-sales background, so HR background. So I always feel that foundation, if it's there, a good foundation is there, things will take care of themselves because you have the values, you have the systems to guide you, and in this kind of situation, these values will come handy. And this is the past experience that I have. These are the past case studies that I have, which will help me navigate through these difficult times. So you have covered certain distance, but for future, adaptability and a flexible approach.
I think what's coming to my mind is it's like the soul of an organization, where the vision, mission, core values. And while money is going to come in and that kind of governs and drives the business.
Money is a byproduct. I always say money is a byproduct.
Yeah. You're not in the business. You've not formed the company so that you can produce money. That's so somewhere the sense that I'm getting is when you lose sight of that vision, mission, core values, and you don't revisit them, you don't reinforce them, you don't adapt, then the soul it's just not there. Then it just becomes like a money minting thing, which is not sustainable. I know of organizations where people are not happy, where the employees are not happy, and then there is a challenge, and then they're rushing, they're running around, and what's the whole purpose? I think it gives a sense of purpose. I think this gives,
And the case in point can be Byju's. Byju's was the kind of valuation it had about a year back. Now look at the valuation and look at the employee turnover. Look at, they're not able to hold on to their best performers also because everybody's leaving. And those who are not leaving, they have been asked to leave. So that is something very sad state of affairs.
True. Super. So, we've spoken about this and such a, variety of nuggets that have come in. When it comes to different kind of organizations, there are established organizations, there are startups, there are SMEs, MSMEs. How does this impact them differently? Or if we were to talk about the action items, would there be a difference? I mean, fundamentally, it's the same stuff. But what would you like to talk in the context of the status of the organization?
Okay, you mean how do we sort of imbibe this value system in a startup vis-a-vis MSME and maybe established companies, etc.?
Absolutely.
See, for startups, I can say that it's about establishing clear, actionable vision and mission statements from the beginning. Because you're starting up, you need to have as to what business you're doing, where do you see yourself, and how do we reach? Again, take the car thing, put the navigation sort of this thing in the GPS where you want to reach. So startups should do immediately at the time of beginning when they are starting. I mean, they should not delay it till let us be 4-year-old and 5-year-old. It's like I'm giving a bad example or wrong example, but it's like every child since birth is supposed to be given some medication, some vaccinations, something has to be done. Then within first 3 months, within first 6 months, then you have to do a repeat course. Sort of a thing. So similarly, with startup, you cannot delay this thing. Okay, now the child is born, but I'll give him the first vaccination after 4 years. Let me settle down. Let me, have my sales team in place. Let me have my marketing team in place. Forgetting about, the financial thing, forgetting about the HR part, forgetting about compliances part, forgetting about other parts. So when you're forgetting about, these core things which are supposed to be foundation of a company, obviously the child will not become a very healthy adult,
right,
going forward. So for startup, it is about establishing clear and actionable vision, and having this imbibing these values and mission at the earliest stage. I mean, I would go to the extent of saying after maybe hiring 1 or 2 salespeople, you should get back to the this thing and get your values in place, get your vision and mission and goals in place, and then expand. Because it's not right thing to expand first and then do this thing, because then the foundation is going to be weak.
Yeah.
Focus on the foundation, and then do it. For MSMEs, the focus should remain on ensuring that whatever values are there are communicated effectively, and they should be ready to scale up as well. Because as MSMEs, maybe micro, small, and medium enterprises, they could be small today, but the vision could be to go big tomorrow. So they should be ready to go big and making sure that the values are not compromised and are they communicated, like I mentioned about from recruitment stage to onboarding to performance appraisal to town halls to everything to everyday meeting, and then they can scale it up. Established companies, as I mentioned, maybe in response to your previous question, they should revisit and adopt. Adaptability and being flexible for established companies is very important because they should leverage their size to reinforce values through established channels because they already have these channels, these values, but they should just revisit them and do reinduction. They maybe revise those values and make some let go of certain old things which may not be of use, but keep the foundation, which is ethical, honesty, transparency, communication. These 3-4 things cannot be changed. They will remain always. Other things, as per your vision, as per your mission, as per your goals, that can change. But focus on ethical. You cannot say that, okay, we have reached this far, now we can break some law, because we always know what happens to Jet founder. He's in jail. What happens to Yes Bank? He's in jail. What happened to my previous boss from DHFL? He's in jail. So let's not look at these things, because all these things happen when people break the value chain. When they break, and this covers everybody. This covers startups. This covers MSMEs. This covers established companies.
Yeah.
They may be profitable today, but you can't promise whether they will be profitable tomorrow.
Wow, that's beautiful and very, very powerful.
Sometimes you have to use harsh words, and in between you use something like punishment may not be right word, but punishment is required. At times, we have to set an example that wrong adherence or maybe non-adherence to the value system will result into this thing. And I give you example of that ITC manager. Termination was anything less than termination would not have satisfied employees.
I so agree with you, because I think it's almost equal to sin, sin, when you do not let go of people who are acting as barriers to this whole the value system thing. We kind of, and that distinction, that line has to be drawn where, okay, we are giving enough opportunity to people, we are supporting them, let's provide them what will help them get in alignment with the values. And the other side of it, where I think, no, it's time to let go of this person or change this, whatever. And yes, you're right. So therefore, I think, yes, punishment may sound harsh, but sometimes
the world looks harsh, but the outcome is required at times. You have to give injection, you have to do surgery, you have to do operation. Also, doctors always never give you aspirin only to take care of your cancer. So cancer has to be treated the way it has to be.
True. So true. Yeah. Absolutely. Wow, this was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed the whole conversation, right from the importance, the significance of it. How is it really happening on the ground? What is the potential when we really have these values and they are being imbibed and being followed to the T at a ground level on a day-to-day basis? What can be done? What's the role of leadership? The do's and the don'ts, some of the things that you spoke about. How can leadership take charge of ensuring that they are implemented and they are reinforced every single day? What can they do? The adaptability bit, where it is just so important to change with the changing scenario. And how can different organizations bring in the value system? How can they really work on it? So this was really insightful, very, very beneficial. And I think people who are listening or watching would have immensely benefited, in the sense that I'm sure everybody knows about this. Everybody's, this is relevant in some or the other context, but sometimes, it's like knock, knock. A reinforcement is required, a reminder is required. And what just comes to me, I'll definitely ask you for your last words, but what just comes to me is this is non-negotiable. It's like the foundation not being there, your structure is going to collapse sooner or later.
Absolutely.
is what I feel. And you will see that if you're not aware, if you're missing out, you would be seeing it. If it's not, the values and all are not in place, you would be seeing that collapse happening in little areas. Chances are you're not aware, but it's
You can
not.
feel the tremors sometime, before
Yeah.
getting the earthquake, actual earthquake, you feel the tremors,
Yes. And if you're avoiding those, if you push them aside, then you face what it is. Yes. Your last words to the listeners, to the leaders.
No, I think first of all, kudos to you for bringing up this topic, because this is something which is not talked about much in the corporate sectors. Also, I mean, people feel that it's nice to have a vision statement on the website. It's nice to have a vision statement, sort of hanging in the corridors, like posters on the wall. But when it comes to living those values, that's the most difficult part. That's where you have to distinguish between, and then unless you reward people who are doing it, and unless you punish people who are not doing it, you'll not be able to have this value-centric approach in a company, be it a startup, be it a small company, or be it an established company. So these will always remain the foundation, because no building can get made without having a strong foundation.
True.
You may have a 1-story building, you may have a 10-story, you may have a 60-story building. Everything requires foundation. So this is like you mentioned the word, and I repeat it. It's non-negotiable. It is not something which is like a paper exercise. It is something which is supposed to be done on the ground. That's why the Indian Army is doing so well in respect of the kind of people that comes to it. You have a regiment, you have a battalion which has a troop or maybe a squadron of Marathas, and one squadron of Jats, and one squadron of Dogras, and they all work together to achieve the common objective.
Yeah.
So each regiment is made, and similarly like companies also. Company doesn't have one community or one this thing. So it is a mixture of everything. Everybody comes together, but how do they perform is because of the value system, is because of the mission that you have, the the vision that you have, so that everything gets aligned and they start walking in that direction, like a car, like a example of. This is like something which people take it for granted. I would say that they take it for granted, that it's good to have something over there. It will attract maybe investors. They will come and invest some money in us. But when it comes to walking the talk, they will take the shortest cut, Okay. Let's not, get into this thing, because I've seen companies who are doing financial bungling as well. Bungling their, account books also to show profitability to the shareholders. That is something which I always say that, it's a wrong thing to do. You may show loss for 1 or 2 years and then show true and pure profit, rather than showing profit now and then getting into loss, maybe because, foundation will be compromised and, your building will collapse.
Yeah.
It doesn't require an earthquake to bring you down. It maybe requires maybe a 60-kilometer wind to bring you down.
So true. Yes, absolutely. Yep. Great. So thank you so much, Captain Rahul, for your time, for sharing your experience, your perspectives, all of this. And I could sense how passionately you feel for all of this, how you've lived this, and being Army. I think Army is an epitome of the value system and how strongly it is imbibed there across.
Absolutely.
There's not an iota of doubt there. So such a classic example. And who could be a better person than you talking about the value management? So
I must thank you for giving me this opportunity, first of all, to reach out to your viewers and all. But I hope I have made some sort of impact in this thing. It came out from heart. Definitely, it came from heart.
It did, yes. And I would urge everybody to, as you listen to this, you may want to revisit this, listen to it again, and see what opens up for you. If there are any questions that you have, please put them down here. We can have Captain Rahul revert to those as well. Also, I'm going to share the LinkedIn profile, Captain Rahul's profile here in the comments. Go ahead, follow him, check out the work that he's doing, and yes, create value for yourself. Lovely.
Sounds great. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Aastha.
Super. Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Yeah.
Yes.